deeper revelation when nothing else will do. Tune into A Godly Woman's View with Anita C. Spaulding and her anointed panel of godly women who will minister, inspire, and set your soul on fire.
Woo! Yeah!
Watch and listen every Tuesday night from 8:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on blogtalkradio.com/A Godly Woman's View and also on livestream.com/A Godly Woman's View.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it more than you know.
A Godly Woman's View with Anita C. Spaulding.
Hey, y'all, I'm here. I'm back, and I'm in full of life and in color. This is Anita C. Spaulding, your talk show host for A Godly Woman's View. And it's so exciting to be able to just come and to share some things with you and with all the VIPs. You know, y'all the very important people to me because you're always on and you're sharing and you're caring. And I just love people. I'm just a people person all the way. I've always been like that. I don't know if I'll ever change. People are just, they give me, it's like a medicine. When I see people, I'm like, yay, I see, hi, how you doing? People just, I probably think I'm crazy, but that's just how I am. But anyway, I am saying to you, to help us to build the audience on today, we have a phenomenal, dynamic, powerful, anointed gospel icon. This woman is no joke. And she's in our backstage and she's going to be coming in a few minutes. Apostle Karen Bettis-Davis. I'm telling you, when I met her, I don't know, it's just like we just fell in love with one another. Somebody else introduced us. I believe it was Bishop Nathaniel Gomillion, if I'm not wrong. But I tell you, ever since then, anything that she's doing on Facebook, it draws my attention, and she's an attention getter. Believe me, she will get your attention because of the things that she's gone through and the things that she can help us through. I'm telling you, the women, we got some places to go and some people to see. I see those of you that's already coming on. How you doing, Vivian Thompson? Glad to see you. Good evening to you too. Glad to see you. So let everyone know, listen, that A Godly Woman's View is on the air, and we will be talking about a mother designed for greatness. Get the mothers on, whether they're single, whether they're married. We want the mothers to hear this on today because I'm telling you, it's going to be, it's just set. It's just ready and on fire. And I'm so glad that each and every week that I have the opportunity to be with each and every one of you that come on and you support in so many different ways. If you just come on and just to say hi, or you send me texts and emails and all that good stuff. But you know what? Because of you, I am where I am today, because of God, definitely. But because of you, I am where I am today because you helped me be accountable for 150 days of no sugar, no salt, no sweets, and no sodas. And I'm keeping to that regimen. I'm excited about it. And so today was 150 days of 150 days. So guess what? Tomorrow, I will be increasing another 30 days. So it'll be 180 days. So it'll be 151 days of 180 days. So listen, I thank you for the push because you're pushing me. And you're helping me to go where I need to go because neither got to lose his fat. I'm going to tell you right now, I said, fat, you got the pow. Yes, you do. God bless you. I see you, Mother Hayes. Girl, you my buddy. You my ace coon bud. I can't wait to see you at the conference, Mother. Praise Jesus. But right now, we're getting ready to bring on this beautiful woman of God. I see my Boaz. He is in the room. Bishop Richard L. Spaulding. He said, great evening to Pastor Anita Spaulding and her special guest. All right, we're getting ready to bring her on. Come on, drum roll. Come on, hit them hearts and hit those thumbs up. Come on, real fast. That's it. Go ahead, y'all. Go ahead. All right. We have coming to the screen from the backstage is our Apostle Karen Bettis-Davis. Oh, my goodness. Hello.
Good evening, my sister. It's good to see you.
Wow. It's good to see you, too. You know, it's so, I mean, you're just so phenomenal. and you've been on before, but I wanted them to hear you again because you are a mother that is designed for greatness. People don't know how to arrive at greatness, but you do.
Bless you. I appreciate that.
Just say hello to the audience that are on now.
Well, hello, everybody. Good evening. I am so honored to be on here. I love my sister, Pastor Anita Spaulding. And isn't she a great woman? I mean, 150 days she has been without sugar, exercising every day, getting her steps in, preserving life and doing it at such a monumental pace. We are all inspired by her. I'm inspired by her. I was just telling her that I just started my journey going back to the gym. And so I feel like I'm sitting in the midst of greatness, and I'm always honored. I love to have a conversation with her. And so I'm excited about tonight. So thank you guys for being on.
Wow, this is great. And I commend you for even going to the gym. It's not that easy to get up and to start doing anything in life, but you have to have that tenacity and that inner strength on the inside,
Say that.
And guess what? We got to have our mind made up.
Yes. Our mind and then some, right? The body got to go too.
That's right. But some people, they used to say to me, oh, you need to lose weight or you're fat. And all I would do is eat more.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yes.
But I definitely would be eating more. But I see some more that are coming on. Somebody says, yeah, that's wonderful. You're going back to the gym. Somebody says, good evening, Apostle Davis. That's a Facebook user. I don't know which one that is. But he said, God bless you, women of God. But I just want to just introduce her formally from her bio. It really is, she has a lot of accolades and she has a lot of things that she's involved in. So she cut it down, y'all. I said, I should cut this down. Because she is. I said, oh, this woman is so powerful. She lets me talk to her. Oh my God, that's so sweet.
Sister. It is all Jesus. I promise you.
It is all Jesus. Apostle Karen Bettis-Davis is an international apostolic prophetic general who ministers, equips, and teaches globally. As the product of a military family, she is no stranger to the art of strategic warfare. Order, oh God, we need order in the church, in the house, everywhere, in business, but order and protocol. Whew. She has decades of leadership experience in both the corporate and kingdom sectors. Heaven has engineered her for these times. She is a beautiful wife, a wonderful mother, a phenomenal author. She is an anointed chaplain, and she is an extraordinary mentor. So as she comes to us, just let's give her a warm welcome by hitting those thumbs up and those hearts. Just say hello to our audience again.
Amen. I'm honored to be here. Anytime we get together, I know it's going to be a good conversation. We're going to have some serious times. We're going to have some laughter, but I think there's going to be an exchange of wisdom. And so I'm honored to be on A Godly Woman's View. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, thank you for coming too, because I know you have a busy schedule, but I thank you for just making yourself available for us. Now, listen, y'all, we need to help build this audience. You just share, okay? When you share, you're really saying I care. All right. Mm-hmm. So Mother's Day is coming up soon, y'all.
Yeah.
Like Sunday.
Sunday.
It's Sunday. But the topic that we have chosen is a mother designed for greatness. Now, there are mothers that are not walking in their greatness, we'll say that, or have not embraced their greatness. Can you tell us why that might be so?
Well, I think there are a number of reasons. Number one, I think that, I can remember being a first-time mother, and you don't know anything about mothering until they set that baby on your chest for the first time, and then you realize how serious it is. And so sometimes we don't have role models. Sometimes we are entering motherhood, as single women. Sometimes we can even be in marriages and it can still feel like, I'm raising this child on my own. And so sometimes I think that there are just natural insecurities that come along with being a mother, especially when you're a mother young. And then I think as you get older, you kind of hit your rhythm. And I remember my pastor talking about the fact that, the weight of who you are as a parent is really displayed once you become a grandparent. And so you really begin to see, the fruits of your labor as you start to get older, as you look at the people that you poured into their life, as you look at your children, when your children, start to become adults. And so I think culturally, there's not a lot of information out there in terms of women in general, especially, being mothers. I think, especially in this pandemic, we've kind of lost that tribe mentality that we used to have. I remember when my oldest, who's now 31, when he was young, I was in mommy groups and, we had play dates and all, I had friends that were around me. We were having our children together. And so they did sports together. They learned to swim together. They played together. They got in trouble together. They got their haircuts together. And so we were just a village, with one another. And I think sometimes we can lose that, and I think when you're a mother, you really need that village. And especially if you're trying to come out of some generational curses, you have to find a healthy village for you to become a part of. And you have to find seasoned women who have been mothers, who you have watched and who you see, modeling, good motherhood. And so I was really blessed in that regard that when I became a young mother, it was my mom and her best friend. My mother's mom actually died when my mom was 10. So she was very deliberate about being a good mother. Because she knew she felt the magnitude of her not having her own mother. So she really focused on us as her children. She really focused on her family. And that was really a beautiful thing for me to see. I am the daughter. I'm the only daughter in my family. I only have brothers.
Wow.
And so I grew up, right? I grew up thinking, my mom just favors boys. And then I had all boys.
Oh, my God.
And so I understood the absolute joy of raising, young men from my mother's perspective. And then I realized that my mother and I just became such good friends, especially once I became a mom. And, just having that village around me just kind of really helped to shape who I am as a mother.
And, you were saying that, we need role models.
Yes.
Which I really believe that we need role models, just being women, but also role models in the area of raising children, because they don't come with an instruction manual at all. And like you said, I had my mother that helped me. She, and my grandmother and my great grandmother.
Yes. So
I had all of them when it came down to giving me instructions on how to even be a lady, and and then and I watched what I did. I watched the way they raised their children.
Yes.
And the couple of things I saw, I didn't want to make the same mistake.
Absolutely.
So I didn't practice that because my son, we have 4 children, but we have a biological son, and the other 3, God bless them. I don't really like to say they're adopted, but my biological son, I didn't know anything about having a baby. I was walking around pregnant, feet swollen, stomach getting big, nose big, hands. And I was like, I hate being pregnant. I felt like I was pregnant for a year. My mother said, now Nita, stop it. I said, Mother, I don't like this. I don't like the way it's feeling and all this. She said, you're going to have joy after this. She said, when the baby comes, you're going to look at the baby differently. So, I really was, I was ready to be a mother, but I just didn't want to be pregnant. I just got to tell y'all the truth. I'm like, oh, Lord. But anyway, And I really felt as though I was pregnant for 1 year. And then when my son came, my grandmother, they said, give me that baby. Let me show you what to do. I'm like, but that's how they were. They were always there with me, because I'm got to tell y'all this crazy story. Don't y'all send me no bad messages. But my baby was real young. He was about maybe 3 weeks. Y'all, I put him in the tub. I was washing him. The baby slid from my hands and he went in the water. I was like, oh my God. I took the baby out and I'm hitting him on the back and open the window and hanging him by the feet. I could have dropped the baby on the cement in the driveway. I called my grandmother, Nana, help me, because of that. She said, you're about to kill the child. Let me But I really didn't know that, he was choking. I didn't know what to do with the child. Now, she was a half an hour away, her and my mother. They must have got me in 10 minutes. Listen, go to jail behind something like, I didn't know. I just didn't. I didn't know you weren't supposed to bathe him in the big bathtub. So after then, they told me, bathe him in the sink. Yeah. He was a preemie. Yes. So he was real small, but I'm telling you, that thing scared me so. My son even laughs about, she tried to kill me. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think all of us probably made some of those first time mother mistakes. I can remember going, and my son had an ear infection, and we were leaving Children's Hospital. I put him in his car seat, strapped him in real good, and locked my keys in the car. And I had to run back to the hospital, and I'm begging the guy, just break the window. My husband had just bought us a brand new car. And I was like, just break the window. Get my baby. They had to get him out, take him back in, give him, fluids, because it was a hot summer day.
Oh my God.
I was, as a mom, I was devastated.
Right. But you would have been in jail if they were different back then. Yes. They weren't as bad as they are now. They will lock you up. Yes.
And so I think all of us, those new mom jitters and fortunately for me, when I had my child, my mother packed me up and took me to her house for probably the first month of his life. And her best friend just kind of catered to both of us. My son, well, he was also a preemie. Yeah, he was, he had jaundice. And so, he was in the hospital for an additional 10 days. And then once we went home, we had a very difficult situation where, he literally stopped breathing. We had to rush him to the hospital.
Oh, Lord.
So when I tell you that my mother and her friend and her best friend, Leona Barron, they came to my rescue. Also, he was the first, grandchild. And so
first of everything, yes.
I could do nothing. Wow. But one of the best things that ever happened to me was I was probably about, he was probably about 3 or 4 months old, and we had gone to the mall, and I just thought we were going to the mall. And my mother and her best friend said, now look at here. I know you just had this baby, but you got a husband.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to buy you some cute clothes. We're going to get you together, because although you are a mother, you are still a wife. Wow. And I will never forget, awesome. That wisdom, that they gave me, because, when you have these babies, you get so enthralled in the baby.
Yes,
you're not sleeping. You putting on your husband's t-shirts, you're trying to learn how to breastfeed, and have a dry shirt on, all of this stuff, and so you just get so involved in motherhood, like, okay, but you still got a man now. Come on now.
But you know what, this is so awesome. We're talking about a mother designed for greatness.
Yes.
Some women don't feel as though that they're designed to have a baby or to have a family, but we have a Facebook user who says we all made mistakes with the first baby. Mother Hayes says it's worth it all when you see that baby, and that is so true. I see you, Pastor Evans Adams, my son from Ghana. Praise God. He says, great. And it's, not all people are ready in their head to take care of a baby or a family. They're not designed that way in their mind, but you gotta get yourself there. And many have become bad parents or mothers and neglected their children. Let's talk about that, because there's many that neglect their children.
Yeah. I think that a lot of times I think that because we haven't had great role models,
Yes,
that sometimes we can have very I think the greatest damage that parents do to their children is being emotionally unavailable to their children.
oh wow.
Not knowing how to nurture them,
Mm-hmm.
how to comfort them, how to support them. Sometimes, children are born under, some of the not so best circumstances.
Right,
And
exactly.
those things can kind of overshadow the whole, birth process.
Wow.
And then if you've had a parent that has been emotionally unavailable to you, then you're going to be emotionally unavailable to your children. I think that there are a number of ways where we can neglect and even abuse our children without knowing it. And I can remember talking to a young man, and he talked about the fact, he was a psychiatrist, and he talked about the fact of the number of children, especially Black men, who had issues because they were raised by a single mother. So that single mother did everything. She was a disciplinarian, she was the cook, she was everything. And so she's just trying to take care of the child, not realizing that that child is missing some very important emotional components. And so we have to be careful, because we end up raising men that are really, they look like they're angry at women, but they're actually angry at their mother. And
Wow.
you have to, they have to go through some training, some counseling to kind of realize that and kind of be able to see. I've counseled people who they're angry at their moms, but they didn't even realize their mom was 15 years old when they had them.
Wow.
And so what was she
prepared mentally, or just not prepared at all?
Yes.
Take care of a baby. They still wanted to have their fun. They were babies raising a baby.
Yes.
And that is quite difficult. And many mothers have made sacrifices for their children. I remember, and I thought about this today because I never really talked about it. But my stepfather was incarcerated. So my mother had these young babies, had me. I was 3 years older than my sister. And she always was home. She didn't work. She was a young mother. So she had to figure it out, even though she had my great grandmother and mother. But what she did, she was on welfare. People don't even notice we were on welfare, and she had to try to make ends meet. People would talk about, because she was the senior pastor, but overseer, whatever. So they like, yes, she was. She was on welfare. She got a job down at I think it was Harris Steel welding company. And she said she would go tired every day back and forth. She would leave me with my great grandmother. She was that babysitter. But my mother, she knew how to make sacrifices. And she survived. She started making our clothes. She said, wait a minute, y'all got to hear this one. No, this bugged me out. They took us to the Salvation Army. That's where they had clothes. I hid in the car, y'all. I'm down in the car. I was about 6, 7, 8. I'm not going in there. It stinks. So my great grandmother says, listen, them clothes are going to come out looking fine. You stop your foolishness. And I'm like, I don't want to go in there. So she made me go in there. So I went in, and they picking out all these stanky, wanky clothes. I'm not kidding y'all. That's how I felt. And she said, you watch what I do with them. I'm going to wash them and starch them, and you're going to look it's going to look brand new on you. I'm like, I ain't wearing that. And she says, yes, you are. So she did. They would wash them in the wringing machine. We didn't have these modern machines, but it's the wringer, and the one that I got my arm caught up in, because I was always in my mother's way. So she took them and she washed them real nice, and she put that starch, not the bottle starch. She made some kind of starch. Fold them up for a little while, and then she ironed them. I'm telling you, I looked so cute. And the shoes, she would put the ammonia or the bleach in it. So nobody knew that we went to the Salvation Army but us, but my mother knew how to make sacrifices. And for kids, or children to raise up and be so disrespectful
Mm-hmm.
to their mother. They don't know what their mother went through.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think that's really true. None of us, I think, parenthood in itself is a sacrifice, but motherhood is a very tremendous sacrifice. And it's just the nature of children at their age that they don't really understand it. And then, see, you and I came from parents of the civil rights movement.
Yeah,
who
right.
grew up
And the
under,
riots and stuff.
Yeah, riots, and grew up under Jim Crow laws and things like that. And so we were taught to value, certain things. And then here comes another generation who doesn't know about that, didn't live through that, weren't really taught about that. So they think that everything should be given to them. They want to have, the latest and the greatest and all of those things, but they really have no idea what the sacrifice is. I have been married, my husband and I, about to celebrate our 32nd, wedding anniversary at the end of this month. And so
we're celebrating our 36th on the 16th, next Tuesday. So that's what I told him. I said, I'm not going to have the Godly Woman's View on next Tuesday. Knowing me, I'll go ahead and
take a day off. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
But, and so, sometimes we look at people who are married and we say, oh, well, you raise your children with a father and everything. But we made a very conscious decision when our oldest was young that I would be a stay-at-home mom.
Wow.
And so that requires sacrifice. Right. And so, you learn how to be thrifty. You learn how to shop. To this day,
true.
When I walk in the store, the first rack I touch is still the sales rack.
The sales rack. That's right. 75% off.
Yes, I start there.
Yeah.
And I go back and the young ladies that I mentor, who are mothers now, I take them with me sometimes and I tell them, listen, God shops with me. I'll walk into a store and, the kids want the Nike, all of this stuff. Right. And I'll find it for like 75, 85% off. I'm like, come on, let's go get the stuff for your children. Let's catch this sale, because you want your children. See, in our generation, we were raised that our children was a representation of us. So our generation never would have worn hoodies when it's 90 degrees outside. Our parents would have never allowed us to wear pajamas outside.
No
we
way.
Could never go outside without our
clothes. Go outside.
We could bonnets. No, ma'am. You could not go outside with the rollers and the scarf in your head.
I don't want to. No, I'm not going to do that. You hear me? I'm like, no pajamas, no bonnets. Yes. I ain't doing that.
And so I was talking to one of my spiritual sons the other day, and I was telling him, I said, I am old enough to have seen the erosion of real leadership in families and also in this nation. And I realized that there were some things that were staples for us that just are not even mentioned or even implemented in this generation. So much has changed now. But there were things, that we did and we knew because our great grandmother taught us, our grandmother taught us, and our mother taught us. And so now, we were talking about the military, for example, that even some of the requirements and things have changed. And when you move the needle in terms of leadership, you're going to get a generation that doesn't really identify with kind of the wholesome things about family, about culture, about our history, and so you lose some of those things and then the children don't see those things as important, like we grew up with the golden rule, and things like that. We didn't have cancel culture, everybody was redeemable, and, we had reverence for the pastor, there were just so many different things that we grew up with. And you realize that in this generation of abundance and instant access, they have a lot more information. They have a lot more choices. And so it's really more important now than ever that we talk to them about, what some of the staples of good character really should be.
Exactly. Now, you coming from a military family, how was it? It must have been different from not being in the military and for your mother, because here you had certain rules to adhere to. God bless you. I see you, Ernestine Gordon. Oh my goodness, glad to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. You're from Alabama, right? God bless you. Love you. So tell me a little bit about the structure, because being in the military, it was quite different from not being in the military.
Yes.
As a mother, tell us about your mother there.
Well, my mother, was born in Plantation, Florida. She met my father when she moved to Mobile, Alabama, because, as I said, her mother died. So she lived with different relatives from time to time. And so when they got married, originally my father was he worked for the post office, and then he went into the military, and he went to Vietnam. And when he came back, they made a decision that as many duty stations as my father could go with family, he would take those assignments. So we were blessed to learn to live around the world. And one of the things that I saw my mother do was my mother always had friends around her that she was gleaning from, that she was learning from. My parents took people in like family, and that's one of the things that I got from my parents as well. Is that being raised in community, always having someone. And my parents, I would notice, one of my father's assignments was when somebody died, there's a particular company that would go to those families to help them deal with the loss of that soldier. And my father, those people would end up coming into our house. And I just remember growing up as a child, they were always giving away furniture, but it always seemed to be replaced immediately.
Yeah. Because they were givers. Yes.
Yes. And so they were tremendous givers. My mother would go to the commissary. She would shop for us and other families, and then she would send them over to get it. They were always counseling couples. I saw weddings in my house where my parents would mentor young soldiers, and then, they would use their home for them to have their wedding ceremonies in. People would sleep on our couch, when they were going through difficult times. We would just see my parents not just only loving us, but also loving other people. And my mother, my mother went back to school. She got several degrees. I think she probably has about 3, in my lifetime. And so I watched her go from being a stay-at-home mom to progressing into having, quite her own.
Right, but she did it in stages.
Yes.
There's some mothers that are selfish.
Yes.
And they think it's all about them, and the children are neglected.
Yes.
And many times you saw that when people were on welfare, how they girlfriend have her braids swinging and the child looking terrible and pain. But it's good when you have this great. You have a lot of teaching coming from your mother that was designed for greatness, and she was. And I mean, it didn't come all at once. But she made her sacrifices.
She did.
Just like you made sacrifices, because you are in so many things. You're now a mentor, you're a counselor, you are a chaplain, and being a mother. Now, how many children do you have?
I have 2 natural children.
Okay.
I had two boys, 31 and 21.
Wow.
They are 10 and a half years apart. Both of them are absolute miracles from God. I can remember being young and being told that I might not ever have children. Wow. And I met my husband, and we fell crazy in love.
Crazy in love with y'all. Crazy in love now.
Yes, there was just something so different about him, And so we fell in love. We had our first, beautiful child, and then nothing. And then for 10 and a half years, I would go to the doctor. They would say, "There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with him," and I just wasn't getting timing. Yeah. And then in that time, I gave my life to Christ. I accepted my call into ministry, and I had started going on the mission field, and I started putting mission trips together for churches and organizations. And I was in Brazil,
Oh,
and
wow.
I got sick, and they said, well, I think we need to take you to, to a doctor here. I don't think we can wait until you get home. And I found out when I was in Brazil preaching the gospel that I was 8 weeks pregnant with this miracle baby.
Oh my God, that was so awesome.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. So you were designed for greatness. I already know that because you have so much going on because you're just not involved with you. And that's what it is. We're not selfish.
Yeah.
You can't be a selfish mother.
No.
You have to be concerned about others. Where you saying we opened up our home and people was, where they come from, but that's just how it was, My great grandmother was always taking in foster children. So what did I do when I took in foster children and became an adoptive mother?
Yes.
So and I could have had 10 children in my house that are not with Bishop in there though. Like, he's like, oh my God. But that's how I was brought up. But he was brought up too. So he was tired of seeing that happen because his mother was always bringing somebody in, or the father was bringing somebody in. So by the time he met me, he was just, I guess, just so tired of having 100 people over their house for Thanksgiving, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but me, I just love, like I was saying earlier, I love people and I want to see them have better and do better. And if I could be some type of source of even strength, because not all the time did we have the money ourselves. We were sharing. We were sharing what we had. And as mothers, it's the same way. I was always sharing, buying other children clothes because I was, parent, and I didn't want to see other children looking like that. Plus, I'm not going to talk about you. I'll just go get you something. I don't have time.
Yeah. I used to tell my children, whenever I would buy them clothes, I would always tell them to take care of them because when they couldn't wear them anymore, we were going to give them to another child.
Exactly.
And I did the same thing with their toys. So they were always raised to know that, those things were going to go somewhere besides you, that there was another child that was going to need, those things. And, my husband, much like your husband, my husband is one of 8. And so, but for me, I wanted my house to be the safe space where kids could come. I wanted the sleepovers to be at my house. I wanted, the events to be at my house.
You sound like we sisters.
So I could keep my eye on my children.
That's right. You don't spend the night
sure that they were safe. Yes.
My daughter would say, "Mommy, I want to go sleep over, go over their house." I said, "You have a bed?"
Yeah.
Oh, we don't spend the night.
They come over here.
Yeah, I was like, you don't spend the night nowhere. Okay. You have a bed, you have a room. That's it. Oh, she would be hot with me. But you know what? We didn't allow them to spend the night. It was so funny one day. I said to my grandmother, I said, "Who you got over your house?" She said, "I know you're not playing." I said, "Yeah, I ain't playing." I said, "Who you have over your house?"
Yeah.
Stay over there. But I said, Nana, it's not you. It's who comes in. I says, and you have to have a keen eye. And you got to pay attention to my child. But anyway, we have become great parents. And as I see here on your bio, you were engineered for these times.
Yes.
I really believe that you were engineered because now you have a what do I want to say? A host of jobs that you're dealing with other young people. Tell us a little bit about the I guess it's a football team.
Yes.
Football team. I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, I have to say that my oldest son, his name is Christopher, and it means follower of Christ. I had when I was pregnant with him, there was a retired school teacher that lived next door, and she would come by every day and she would say, "Okay, don't name your child this because these children do this, certain characteristics." And one day she said, "Christopher, I never had a bad Christopher in my class ever." And so that child started going to church with my then pastor, Pastor C.A. Lundy, and his wonderful, wonderful wife who taught me how to be a wife and a mother, Shirley Lundy. He would go to their house on the weekends while my husband and I were out in the street. And so my mothering kind of kicked in, and I was like, okay, who are these people and what are they doing that my son wants to be there? So he actually got me to go to church. I got saved because of that child. Wow. And so then here we are all these years later. One day he's watching a football documentary because he's an offensive coordinator and an O-line coach at Freedom High School in Woodbridge. And he walks into my room and he says, Mom, I'm watching this chaplain at Clemson. You really ought to think about being a football chaplain. I think you'd be great at it.
Oh, wow.
And so I called the head coach there because we had known each other since my youngest was probably 11 and he started playing with him. He was such a phenomenal coach. He has such a phenomenal vision for his organization. And so I contacted him and I said, hey, I kind of have a dream and, and I want to run it by you. I think I want to, try to be a chaplain, and help the kids. Before I could finish it, he said, Mama, whatever you want to do. And so I started this journey. And so the first thing that I did was I talked to one of my football sons, Josh Fuga, and he introduced me to the chaplain at Virginia Tech. And so he said, I'll mentor you. And so things just started coming together. Needless to say, I got, the 65 incredible sons who, I get to speak to weekly. I get to minister to them, minister to their parents, talk to them. I mean, just incredible. And so our first year, we literally set national records. Our theme, it's a Title I school, and it's 49%, English as a second language school. And so to build a football team, there is a God feat in and of itself. Wow. And so our theme was, a song by DJ Khaled. They didn't believe in us, but God did. And so that was a theme that I gave them this year because I said, I really believe we're going to go all the way. And we went all the way. We won a state championship. Wow. We scored more points than any high school in the United States of America.
Wow.
Just one game, we scored 91 or 94 points in the first half. That was another history-making moment. There were just so many history-making moments in the middle of this. But what was so special about it was how hungry these young men were, not only to see themselves reflected in the Word of God.
This is awesome.
But I think that a lot of times we think that when boys get older that they really need men. But boys are so used to their mother's voice. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so as my girlfriend says, she said, you have good boy mom energy. And so, I just kind of, grabbed all these wonderful children and we had a phenomenal year. And it was so successful that another high school in another county recently called me and asked me to be their chaplain as well. So now I'm the chaplain at 2 schools.
This is awesome. And it's really needed. And it's all because really the training came from your mom.
Yes.
And you just took on the traits of her and said, because there's some ways that we've adopted that from our mothers that we don't even realize. Because I was preaching Sunday and some people knew my mother because she was a pastor. And they said, this one lady grabbed me. She said, Lord have mercy. If you're not your mother, I said, my mother. She said, I see it all in you. She said, when you preach, you got a lot of mannerisms like her, but I always wanted to emulate her and my great grandmother. Certain things I took from them, or another strong woman like my only godmother, and just qualities that I liked about other women. Yeah, I would just, as a teenager growing up, and I would say, I'm going to take that and I'm going to embellish on that, and not really knowing what I was saying, but I says, I'm going to have my own personality.
Yes.
But I love the way that they act towards people, towards things, little things. Like my godmother folded towels a certain way. I fold those towels now the same.
I do too.
You understand? I'm saying, but these are the things that we have adopted in our own life. And look where God has brought you to, brought you to the place now that you can mentor teenage young men in the area of the, what is it, athletes? Okay.
Yes.
Athletes, I don't know too much about athletic stuff, but anyway, but you can do it. And it's just that they need that mother image. Yeah. A lot of them don't even have that mother that pays attention to them. And this is what my husband always says, you're so motherly, you nurture, you mother hubba. I said, whatever. But
Mhm.
I'll find a child in the street. I said, come here, what's the matter?
Mhm.
They did this to me or whatever. I said, come here, come on, we're gonna walk.
Yes.
Not knowing the child. So the
Yeah.
thing is, it's an instinct, it's within us,
Mhm.
that greatness.
Yes.
That greatness is in us. And the
Yes.
scripture does says, greater is he that's in you than he that is in the world. So we have so much, not just to offer to our own children, Apostle, but you have so much to offer to other children. And I can see you doing the what are they, the national ones, NHL. Oh,
I say all the time, my dream is to be a chaplain in the NFL. That's
it. That's it.
Yeah. And I tell my youngest son all the time, by the time he gets there, it's my dream that we'll get there, at the same time.
Wow.
I comment up under Deion Sanders' posts all the time. If you ever need a chaplain, I'm right here.
This is so awesome, because I've never met someone that is a chaplain of a football team and more or less of two, and you're getting ready to just go on because people are going to be calling for you. There's a scripture said to Jesus, all men seek for thee, because he has something inside. All men and women will seek for you, Apostle, because you have it on the inside, and it's in your belly. And the scripture says that out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water. So the water that's on the inside of you is going to flow out into other lives, and other lives are going to be changed by just one person, which is you. And many mothers that are watching today, don't take it for granted or think it's a small thing that, your child might not be listening to you. They hear you.
They do.
All right? They hear you. Then after a while, because I have my daughter, she said to me about 2 years ago, she said, Mommy, I find myself raising my son like you raised us. Mommy, I get him up early morning, 4 o'clock. I said, oh, good, because I would get him up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We going out in the garden. I would show him how to dig up and plant. They'd be like, I can't stand my mother. I was going fishing at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I said, because I can't put the worm on the hook or take the fish off. So I would go fishing. My kids, and then bring the fish home. And I said, oh, can you clean it? But they remember all of this.
Yes.
And you're planting, you're planting a seed. The seed is being watered, and then after a while it's going to grow. And that's what you've done, Apostle Davis, with your two young men. You've planted that seed. It's watered, and it's being watered over and over again. And then you're going to see how it's just blossoming. And then when they have their children, you're going to see how their children go. It's because of you.
And I don't think that you can ever over appreciate your children. I don't think that you can. My mother said that she didn't believe in spoiling children, and so not that she didn't believe in spoiling children. She didn't believe that you could spoil a child. That you needed to give that child all the love and affirmation, encouragement, that they could get. And so I am that mother. I'm a cheerleader. I'm very proud of my children. I tell them. I don't just post about it, but I tell them. I'm excited about, when they have good news, when they're happy, when they're doing well. And we're in the stage of life now where not only are we parent and child, but there's some aspects of friendship, that have been cultivated as well, where we get to do now adult things together. We will go on, triple dates and, have these experiences. And I am blessed that they want me to know the women that are in their lives.
Well, bless the Lord.
It's really a beautiful place for my husband and I, to be, with our children. And so I think, growing up when they're little babies, you think, oh, that's the most wonderful time. But I've done it. I've been a mother for 3 decades now. So I can say that this decade has been probably one of the best decades for me, because you get to see the wisdom. You get to be there when they make their mistakes, but you also get to be there when they have those triumphs and those victories. And to see my children, they got to celebrate a national championship when my youngest son won a national championship. They were there together. And then this year to see my oldest son win his first state championship, and to watch his younger brother be as excited for him as his brother was for him, 2 years ago. And to be able to sit and watch that camaraderie as a mother is just beautiful to me.
Wow. Oh wow! Time has just moved fast for us. But we're talking to this beautiful woman of God, Apostle Karen Bettis-Davis, and she is a wife, a mother, an author, chaplain, mentor, product of a military family. She teaches the art of strategic warfare. Well, we're not going to be able to go over that tonight, but she loves order, and so do I, and protocol. And she has leadership experience in both the corporate and the kingdom sectors. And I tell you, this is just awesome. Tell us a little bit about your book. You're an author.
Well, I wrote a book, and it's called Armed.
Okay.
And it is an acronym for effective spiritual warfare and intercession. When you study prayer, you find that the model that most of us still use, the ACTS model, that model was actually created in 1833 by a female, by the way, but they gave her husband credit for it. And so one day God was telling me, he said, I want to teach you how to pray, but there's an element of warfare that is missing from prayer. And so I'm going to give you a strategy. And so ARMED is actually acronyms for a method of prayer where you not only pray, you have communion with God, all of those things, but also, you use the power and the authority that Jesus Christ is giving you to destroy the works of the devil. And so many times we pray, but we don't really do sufficient warfare. And, it's important whenever you're engaging in a battle that, number one, you know your enemy, you study your enemy. Number two, that you know your weapons well and you know how to use them. Wow. You know what those weapons can do. You know the difference between, a 38 and an AR, rifle, a cannon, a missile. All of those things require different, teachings and technologies. And so in the book, we just kind of go through this, step-by-step plan of how to pray using the scriptures, using your authority, using, the blood of Jesus, using the things that God has given us at our disposal so that we can be effective when we go to prayer. Because, we serve the only prayer answering God. And so we need to be able to measure results when we pray. And I think we're in a time now where we definitely need to look back and say, are we being as strategic in prayer as we could be? Are we really focused on the right targets? We're watching, the schools being shot up. We're watching a number of things that are happening. And to me, those are warning signs that we are at war and that we need to begin to strategically pray to save our children. We're talking about motherhood, but we got to think about the thousands of mothers here in America who their children are victims of gun violence.
Wow.
And how we can prevent those things from continuing to happen. I wrote a piece not too long ago about women coming together, Black women and white women, Black and brown women, in the United States, that when you think about it, in the church, we're about 90% of the congregation. We pay 90% of the tithe. We do 90% of the workload. And so what would that power look like if we actually gathered together to come against some of the things that are coming against our children?
Wow.
I don't want to have to pray for my sons alone. I want to gather with women who want to pray for the same things, who want to pray for schools, who want to sit. When these mass shootings first started happening, I started calling together meetings with the county sheriff, especially when Black men, when it came on the rise, when Black men were just being slaughtered by the police, and they still are, by the way.
Yes, they are.
But, I decided let's have strategic meetings and prayer with law enforcement in our area. They need to understand us. We need to understand them. And then my partner in the school, Heather Hutchinson, we have been talking about now one of the new ventures that we're trying to do is to actually go into the police department and to teach them what mental health actually looks like, so that when somebody is suffering from mental illness, that we don't mistake them as a criminal and we don't lose lives when people actually need to be hospitalized. And so we're working on a plan to do that now, because, I think it's going to, a lot of the incidences that are happening, George Floyd, Eric Garner, people of that nature, when you say you can't breathe, how does a police officer identify that?
I can't breathe.
Or the 72-year-old woman who came to the door with a knife, who had dementia, and they shot her because they did not know what dementia looked like. They did not know what to expect. All they knew was that this poor, fragile woman, had a knife. And so these are the kind of things that, as women, I think we need to gather and we need to change those things. I think we have enough power inside of the church, and I think we have enough power, political power, if we gather together to change some of the laws, in this country, to make it better for all of our children.
Wow. You know what? This woman is a mother designed for greatness. She's just a woman designed for greatness. And I like what you're talking about when you're talking about strategic warfare, because it only could be done in prayer and through prayer. Yes. And this is what we need to do, is to come together. The believers have to come together, because if you're not going to come together, how can you come together with somebody else? But I like that idea of going into the police stations, because I always wanted to do that, where I have a luncheon or something, not that they have to pay, they would just come and have lunch and let's talk. Okay, let's talk about what's going on in our neighborhood, and how can we do things better, and what do we need in order to help one another, and to understand, and some type of way be educated in different areas when it comes to, because you're talking about somebody Caucasian officer don't understand a Black young man that might just going through a difficult time. And it's like the young man that went to the wrong house. Yes. Okay. And the man just shot him. Yeah. Because he's Black. Yeah. Hello. Yes. Because he's Black. Yeah, because he's Black. He went to the wrong house. So how do we change the mindset of people that can't understand that we're all human beings? Yeah. We have same. I cut. Guess you cut me. Yes. I bleed blood. If I cut you, guess what? You bleed blood. So we're all made from the same God. But we need to now learn how to, as you said, Apostle, which is so great, how to get along down here. Yeah. And you were designed for this, girl.
Well, I think we had a president that weaponized fear. And gave racism an opportunity to come up, to the surface like never before. Yes. But we have to remember as believers that the dominant power always wins. Yes. And that we have to stop allowing the media and, certain political parties and their interests, to stoke fear. Greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. And so we have the advantage as believers. And so what we need to do is we really do need to gather, and we need to have conversations. And then we need to make sure that if there's somebody in the media who can push a different narrative, that we get back behind them and we support that narrative. But that also that we do it in prayer. I think now more than ever, that's important. Yes. Believers, we need to become present. We need to be more present. We need to kind of look at some of the things that we're doing that are not godly, move those things out of the way, so that the power of God that resides in us, it can be felt and seen and known and appreciated inside of our nation. And, when you look at the scriptures, there's so many women, so many mothers who were so powerful. Even, at the event of her son's death, Mary is standing there. Wow, that's powerful. Jesus. The position and the purpose of his death. She's a powerful mother standing there realizing that my son was born to save humanity. And so I think that we have to also look at our children and ask ourselves, what is it that our children were born to do? I tell mothers all the time that I never picked anything for my children. I looked at my children because all of them come into the world with their own story. Yes. Right. And so I looked at them. I looked at their personal attributes. I looked at what they were good at. I looked at what they liked, what they'd enjoy, what came easy to them. And so we started, putting resources back behind the gifts that God had given them. My oldest son, I think we knew he was going to be a coach by the time he was 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
My 21-year-old, we thought he was going to be a church musician. He was in the church playing drums when he was 3 and 4 on beat. He was the lead singer for the children's choir. And then one day somebody invited him to go to football practice. And he was just so naturally good at it that by the time he was 11, he was invited to play for an elite team where we traveled up and down the East Coast. And so I said to him, listen, we're about to put a whole lot of money into this. And that 11-year-old child looked at me and he said, Mommy, if you do this for me, you'll never pay a penny for me to go to college. And I never have.
Wow. Greatness begets greatness. Amen. So that's what it is. And greatness in you beget more greatness. And I tell you, it's just going to keep on going on and on and on because you have so much on the inside of you. And, I see Simone Layton is watching.
That's my beautiful niece.
Oh, that's your niece.
Yeah.
Tanya, I think Tanya Weaver.
Hi, Tanya.
She says, you're the bomb.
Amen.
Then Jessica Cartwright. She put up Armed, a new model for spiritual warfare and intercession. And I'd like to encourage you that are watching to get this book because we do need to know how to go forth in spiritual warfare against the forces of evil because the enemy has strategies. But we as believers, we need to use the strategies that's outlined in the 66 books to come against the devil. We really do. We need to speak over our children's lives, over our spouses' lives, our community, our ministries. We have to speak, and this is not a joke, y'all. Some people just think, oh, we just speak, just say it. No, I really believe it. And I believe that we should stand still and then we could see the salvation of the Lord. But that's after we have really warfare on the enemy, and that is through prayer.
And I just want to say this too in terms of mentoring too. The young lady Jessica Cartwright, she's my daughter in every sense of the word. I just did not give birth to her, but I met her when she came to our church. She's a Caucasian woman. She found our church on Facebook, looked for us for 3 weeks straight. And then finally she found us. She walked in with this beautiful little, very silent little 3-year-old girl. Wow. They came from a very small town in Texas. Her husband was in the Marines. They had just relocated, didn't know anybody. She was very timid, would never talk. And so she kind of came and got up under my wing, and I have watched her soar as a mother. And I remember one day I said, what is your mission in life? She said, to be a mom. I said, nope, God has more for you. Wow. And so she started working. She's about to graduate with her bachelor's degree. She always wanted to go to college. She's about to graduate. That little 3-year-old girl is a natural born activist. And when George Floyd happened, she wanted to protest every day. She is very aware of.
Oh wow!
Sometimes awesome. White people say I don't see color. She's very aware. She's very aware of color. She's very aware that her godmother is African American. She's very aware that we are for all intents and purposes grandparents to them. But she has taken on the cause herself at the very tender age of 10 and 11 of eradicating racism. And she is a true ally. And so when you take people up under your wings, Jessica would tell you that she didn't even realize that she was a racist. They were just racist ideologies that she grew up under. Wow. And coming into our church, she had been to a Black church before, but coming into our church and us being able to talk about these issues and tackle these issues, help her to uncover some things that she didn't realize were there. And, and just to watch her bloom and become an ally, in the struggle that we are in. And, I remember, Harley saying to me one day, I can't imagine not loving you just because you're Black. And so the impact that we can have as mothers, not only on our children, but how other mothers mother their children. I think is one of the greatest gifts. Titus talks about seasoned women, helping the younger mothers. And so, I hope that my legacy is helping young mothers to see their children for all of their potential, to love them, for them to be role models and to allow their children to watch them soar. But also, by the time Harley's ready to have children, I believe that some of the things that we're fighting for right now, we won't have to fight for, because this generation will be full of allies, women who gather together for the cause of Christ and for righteousness.
Wow.
And to make some historical moves in this nation.
And the Bible tells us that we're to train up a child in the way to go, and then they will not depart from it. And you're doing a marvelous job with your extended family. That's what you're a mother to the extended family, to all races, all ethnic backgrounds. You don't realize that this is what God really wants us to do. He wants us those barriers to be broken down. Those boundaries, cross those boundaries.
Absolutely.
Go where God tells you to go. Do what God tells you to do.
Yes.
Stay just focused on me, my four, and no more.
Yes.
You have to look beyond that, because there is ministry, and you're ministry minded, Apostle. And many of you that's watching, you're ministry minded, and you have to think outside of the box.
You do.
Matter of fact, God is not in the box. So why are you in the box?
Yes.
So we got to come outside of that box, and we got to do what God says. Now, we can't do, I might not be called to do what Apostle can do, or vice versa. But one thing about it, I'm called to do something. And
yes.
And God just adds on. I said, God, I can't do another thing. What is this? But the Lord, he will just put it down in my spirit.
Yes.
This is what he wants me to do. And same with you. And listen, this has been an awesome time speaking to this mother that is designed for greatness. And she's got even greater things that's getting ready to happen through her and in her and for her. Praise God. But I just want her to say what's on her heart to those that are watching. And please let them know how they can reach you, and mention where they can get your book again, Armed. And you can get it on Amazon. But I just encourage you to go ahead and to get her book, and just to hit her up on Facebook, because she's a powerful woman of God. God bless you.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, to all the mothers, I just want to congratulate you. I always tell mothers that this is the time where you are co-creating with God this incredible life that's coming into the world. The scriptures tell us that God sits in the womb with our children. And so no matter the circumstances of your pregnancy, I want you to know that God ordained you to be a mother. And that if you can just embrace the fact that this is a God ordained assignment for you, and you listen to God about how to raise those children, there's no such thing as a perfect family, a perfect mother, a perfect child, but you can absolutely be, the biggest cheerleader in your children's life. You can absolutely, be the biggest cheerleader in other children's lives. If you see, an area where you feel like you need to grow, don't shortchange yourself. Get you some mentors. I've had some great mentors in terms of mothering for me. And I want to encourage you to do that as well. I just want to say to you that this is the most incredible thing that you will ever do with your life. Michelle Obama said last night that we can have it all. We just cannot have it all at the same time. And I think that is so true. And so I want you, especially if you have young children in those informative years, choose your children. Choose to pour everything in them. I'm able to do everything that I do now because my children are grown. I'm still a mother, but I'm mothering them differently. But in those informative years, in those young years, be there, be active, talk to them, tell them how much you love them, talk to them about their fears, challenge them in conversations, and just continue to be there for them. And so I'm in this season in my life now where I am awaiting the birth of my grandchildren whenever my children get married and bring these beautiful children into the world. And I am so excited about that phase. I'm actually preserving my own life now in order to be able to still be active, with them.
Yes.
And so it's the reason why I'm going back to the gym. It's the reason why I'm losing weight. It's the reason why, I'm taking supplements. And I was talking to Pastor Spaulding about a supplement that I've started taking that is really wonderful for women. It's an elixir that I take every day. Because, when we get old, I've been running on football fields for a long time. These knees, baby. And so, it's good for your skin. It's good for your joints.
What is it called again? What is it?
It's just elixir. But what it is it has some of the highest concentrated collagen peptides in it. It has resveratrol, I can't say it.
Versatile.
Versol B, which is the highest grade of collagen. And so what it does is it has inflammation receptors in it so that it stops your body from producing inflammation. It gives you energy. I'm in the menopause phase. It helps with the brain fog.
I've been through that already.
Of all of those things. And so my doctor was telling me, don't exercise too hard because you'll get too much inflammation in your body. Most of us that have belly fat and everything, it's really because we have too much inflammation. And so we can't lose weight because
I need a bucket of that. Give me I need a bucket of that.
If you just inbox me, I will get you the information, for it. But it has been a game changer for me. I think within the first 2 weeks, I lost 7 pounds that I wasn't even trying to lose. And it helps with your skin. It helps with so many different things. But the main thing for me, especially older women and even younger women, our stress hormones produce inflammation. And if you're a mother, there's always some level of stress. And so, this helps to reduce, those stress hormones in the body. I actually started taking it because I was watching a mother of 6. And she lost like 30 pounds in about 2 months, and she was told, and she completely lost her stomach. And I said, I need to know what you're doing, ma'am. And she introduced me to the product. And so I decided to try it, and I started feeling better immediately. Wow. It was amazing how such a small thing made such a big choice and, a big change in my life. And so I'm on this health kick. I think, as you know, I take care of my husband who is disabled. He's had some strokes and he's lost, a lot of his vision. And so I'm a full-time caregiver while doing ministry, while being a chaplain, while being a mom, while going to Janet Jackson concerts and dancing all night, with my friends. And just, I am in, I put up a post yesterday and I said, the 50s are everything I meant for them to be. I am having the time of my life.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, we're so glad that you took this time out to be with a Godly Woman's View. Mother Hayes says she loves being a grandmother and a great mother, and she is awesome. She loves her children, her grandchildren. She posts about one of them all the time.
I cannot wait, Mother Hayes. I'm trying to tell you, my bank account is ready. I'm ready. I'm telling you.
She's just ready. Ready.
We grew up watching a movie called, I don't know if you remember those old movies called Auntie Mame.
No.
Where she took her grandson's son and she traveled all over the world with him. She taught him, he introduced him to kings. He was so cultured and everything. And when I was young, I always said, that's the kind of grandmother I want to be. I want to travel with them. I want to give them experiences. I want them to know culture. I want to know all these things. And so I have probably a total of 10 godchildren, and I do many, many things with them. But baby, when I get me a grandbaby.
Oh boy, that's going to be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I tell you, we've enjoyed you. And I just have an announcement that on next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, which is May the 18th, 19th, and 20th, is the New Normal Ministry Conference. Yeah. The theme is The Kingdom Has Come. Yeah. On the 18th, we have Bishop Monica Parche Price that will be coming in from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She will be preaching at 7. Then Bishop Ron Faulkner on the 20th at the New Normal Ministry brunch, but we are also giving away about 35 awards to different ones that have been VIPs, very important people supporting us, and then to apostles, bishops, pastors, and we just gonna do it up. And it will be held at Deliverance Jesus is Coming at 815 Springfield Avenue in Irvington, New Jersey, where my auntie, sister, friend, Bishop Vanessa Everett is the host and senior pastor, and we're excited. And on that Friday morning at 9 is our seminars. We have 4 seminarians. They're powerful. Bishop McQueen, Overseer Linda Steinmix, Bishop Kathy Parshay Pollard, and our assemblyman, Bishop Reginald W. Atkins. And we had some phenomenal musical guests, Deliverance Worship Experience, Pastor Gloria Parker, Elder Evan Spaulding, who is coming in, my son from California, Overseer Justin Coleman, my nephew. I tell you, we're going to have a time. And Spaulding and myself are excited, and we want you to be a part. I don't think we're going to have it. I doubt if we're going to have it on Facebook, but we, those of you that's in the area, we look for you to come on. The evening services are free to the public and open to the public. So God bless you, and we love you so much. And I just like to say happy Mother's Day to each and every one of the mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, wannabe mothers, mother-in-laws, all the mothers. Praise God. I love you, and enjoy your day in a Jesus kind of way.